Hey everyone! The Galaxy S20 Plus is in a Goldilocks spot between its two siblings. It's cheaper than the Galaxy S20 Ultra while having a bigger screen and a bigger battery than the vanilla S20. That said, the price is nothing to sneeze at. So is this the best Android flagship that you can get? I'm Angie for GS Marina, and this is our review of the Galaxy S20 Plus. Unlike Galaxies of the past, the S20 series has a very subtle curve on the screen. It's enough to be elegant but not obnoxious to use. There's tiny bezels all around and a single centered hole punch near the top. The camera setup this year is quite large, but it doesn't compare to what you'd find on the back of the S20 Ultra. The phone is made of Gorilla Glass 6 in the front and back and has an IP68 rating, so it should be able to survive a little bit of abuse. The S20 Plus was lighter than expected, and in fact, it was notably lighter than the Ultra. It's not top-heavy and it's quite slim, so despite the large screen, it feels comfy in the hand. Haptic feedback on this phone is also quite good. Samsung got it right on the Note 10 already, but it's nice to know that this trend will continue. More importantly, Samsung's trend of making excellent screens is also continuing. The 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED is one of the best displays out there at the moment. You can choose between a 120 refresh rate with a Full HD resolution or a 60Hz refresh rate with a QHD resolution. We prefer the higher refresh rate because it makes the phone feel faster even if there's a cost to battery life. We got marginally lower brightness than the S20 and S20 Ultra, but it still beats most of the competition. When adjusting the slider manually, we measured 379 nits, and in auto mode we got up to 797. As a whole, the screen also had excellent color accuracy. The default out of the box is vivid mode, and if you bump the cool to warm slider towards warm, you'll get near perfect whites. You can also switch the phone to be in natural mode, but it's a few nits dimmer and it doesn't look nearly as eye-catching. The S20 Plus is a great media consumption device not only from the point of view of the picture, but the audio too. The phone has a stereo speaker setup that uses a downward-facing speaker on the bottom and the earpiece as a second channel. It had very good loudness in our tests, although it wasn't quite as loud as the S20 for some reason. On the other hand, it had a frequency response close to the S20 Ultras.
I should just let them all go when life seems impossible. Look from every angle, change just one.
The S20 Plus has a 4,500 mAh battery, and in our testing we got similar battery life to its siblings. When the display had the 120Hz refresh rate turned on, it got 87 hours of endurance. When it had the 60Hz refresh rate turned on, it had 97. If these numbers seem a bit low considering the size of the battery, that's because Samsung has not implemented a dynamic refresh rate, and the modem is external to the chipset, which is not as energy efficient. In the box, you'll find a 25-watt adapter that can charge the phone from 0 to 62% in half an hour and from 0 to 100 in 57 minutes. The S20 Plus supports up to 15-watt wireless charging, and it also supports reverse wireless charging, which Samsung is calling wireless power share. This is very convenient for charging smartwatches and earbuds on the go. The phone has two variants when it comes to the chipset, and it really depends on which market you're in terms of what you're gonna get. The first option is the Snapdragon 865 chipset, and the second is the Exynos 990. We have the latter, while if you live in North America, you'll probably get the Snapdragon version. In our test, the S20 Plus was a slight bit behind the S20 and S20 Ultra, but there's no noticeable difference in real-world usage. What was interesting is that the Oppo Find X2 Pro outperformed the S20 series in terms of multi-core and single-core performance. Since the Oppo is using a Snapdragon 865, it perhaps means that the Galaxies with a Qualcomm chipset might be a bit faster. Samsung's UI continues to have one of the most ridiculous names in the industry, and you'll find that the S20 Plus features One UI 2.1 on top of Android 10. It now has a system-wide dark mode, and the edge panels have had a minor redesign too. There's proper gesture navigation now, and you can swipe in from the sides to go back instead of having to stretch towards the bottom of the phone. Accessing the multi-window, on the other hand, is a little difficult, and there's a mini menu you have to access instead of simply long pressing on the task switcher like before. There are some new extras here and there too. First, there is the addition of Google Duo to the phone app so you can have video calls straight from the dialer. There is also a music share option which lets you connect the phone to a Bluetooth speaker and use it as a hub for other phones. This way, you don't have 10 people that have to connect their phones to the speaker and constantly switch between them. The S20 Plus has the same triple camera setup as the S20, but with an additional time-of-flight camera. Samsung has updated the sensors from the previous generation, especially for its ultra-wide and main cameras. We've made a dedicated S20 camera video review, so if you're interested in learning about the full photo and video capabilities of this camera system, you should really check it out. The only real difference between the S20 Plus and the vanilla S20 in terms of their cameras is the time of flight sensor, which helps with live focus and portraits. Now, what's most important to know is that as far as photos are concerned, in the daylight, all three cameras are pretty great. The main camera has the most detail with nicely vivid colors and very reliable auto HDR. The ultrawide has slightly less detail, though the overall processing matches the main snappers. The hybrid optical telephoto setup also performs nicely. At 2x and 3x magnification, images are nicely detailed and you'll be more than satisfied with them. At 4x magnification, they start to lose their sharpness, and at 10x zoom, they start to lose usability. At night, dynamic range on the main camera is excellent even without night mode, which reduces noise and increases detail levels in the shadows. Night mode is more useful for the ultrawide camera because that's where you're going to see the most noticeable improvement in image quality. Photos that are taken with 2x and 3x zoom are quite usable in normal mode, but they certainly benefit from the night mode as well. The biggest difference between the S20 and S20 Plus is that time of flight camera. So we expected portraits to be really good. Safe to say they were, and you even have two options available. There is a wider mode that you can capture with the main shooter and a more close-up version that you can capture with the telephoto camera. Live focus mode on non-human subjects was also impressive, and we like the fact that the S20 Plus performed well even with complicated backgrounds and subjects. Videos shot on the S20 Plus were really excellent. While you can record 8K at 24 FPS, it takes up much more space, and the image quality is not perceivably better on a regular computer screen, so it makes more sense to shoot in 4K. There's stabilization in any mode that you choose. In the super steady mode, you can choose to either use the main camera with OIS and autofocus, or the ultrawide snapper with a slightly wider field of view. The 10 megapixel front camera produced photos with excellent detail and slightly muted colors in comparison to the main camera. Selfie portraits were also quite good, although naturally had limitations due to the fact that it's a single camera approach. For us, the Galaxy S20 Plus makes the most sense out of the S20 trio. It has a bigger screen and better battery life than the vanilla S20, and the S20 Ultra doesn't offer enough in terms of tangible upgrades to really be worth that jump in price. Actually, its biggest competition seems to be the iPhone 11 Pro. But if you're not a die-hard iOS fan, the Galaxy phone has a better screen, it's lighter, it's more compact, and oftentimes it even leads in terms of cameras. So if you're considering 2020 flagships, the Galaxy S20 Plus definitely needs to be on your list. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below, subscribe, hit the bell icon, more importantly, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.